military-led governments are nothing but puppets or James Bonds sent by some intruders. I mean, our Western big brothers, they play around with this army governments. You know, it's not an internal problem.
No, I don't believe that. I believe that the fact that we've had military governments, I would not lay the blame on foreign countries. That's like saying, you know, I don't want to clean up my house, you know, because somebody else comes and makes a mess in it. No, I think that we are as much to blame as the foreign powers are. And of course, it is much easier for foreign powers to deal with one man rather than a democratic dispensation, which we have seen today. We were expecting a lot of fireworks from the Obama and Gilani meeting in Seoul. That did not happen because he said that the parliament would decide the new parameters between the relationship between America and Pakistan. But a military-led government would have done something very different. It was, you know, Musharraf who handed over people on a platter to Guantanamo Bay. It was Musharraf who allowed drone strikes to happen. It was Musharraf who opened up bases here in Pakistan. So yes.
What about Ziaul Haq? Why aren't we discussing about Ziaul Haq and his contribution to this beautiful society?
I mean, I'm not leaving him out. I'm just talking about the.
Let's first talk about Ziaul Haq, then we'll come to Musharraf.
Okay. Yeah.
So, how Ziaul Haq did contribute in shattering down the fabrics of a beautiful society here in Pakistan?
I'm not so sure it was beautiful to begin with, but I mean, of course, Ziaul Haq started the Islamization process of Pakistan, supported by the Americans against the Russians. It was the Cold War. We all know the history.
He became a contractor. Pakistan became a contractor nation.
Yes, it did.
Then what did you get from your democratic governments? Just give me a little idea about.
I don't think that after Zia, the democratic governments were fully allowed to function in this country. Benazir came in for the first term, 18 months. Then Nawaz, then another 2 years Benazir, then another 1.5 years.
Who were playing this puppet game?
Well, now it's very obvious. We have now we have another scandal called the Mehran Bank scandal. And General Aslam Beg, who was the Chief of Army Staff, and Asad Durrani, who was the ISI chief at the time, have now submitted an affidavit admitting that they actually formed an IGI, a coalition of different parties, to stand up against and contest the elections against the Pakistan People's Party, that they were actually paying to make sure that the PPP never comes to pass. So it's very obvious who was pulling the strings. I'm not sure how they pull the strings now, but it's very obvious that the major decisions in this country, really, especially foreign policy, are made in the GHQ.
And then what is the future of Pakistan?
I think the future is very bright. The reason I say this is because there has been a sea change. It's not the same world as it was in the 1980s. It's not the same society as it was in the 1980s. We are far more connected than we ever were before. There is a huge young population that want to move forward. We don't want to be told that we have boundaries and therefore we cannot expand further. We want to be told that we have boundaries and we can take advantage of that they will create opportunities for us. I think there's a yearning to move beyond a Pakistan that has just served the Americans, a Pakistan that has just looked inwards. The world is opening up, and I think Pakistan, the younger generation of Pakistan, is ready to embrace it.
Can you envision a South Asian Union? Like,
I think it's happening. I think it's happening very, very slowly. The fact that we have now opened trade with India, the fact that we have allowed the MFN status to go through, which is the most favored nation to go through, we will double, if not triple, our trade in the next 2 years. Right now it stands at just $2 billion between India and Pakistan, but very soon it will be 3 times more. So there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of linking up together in trade, in business, and I think everything else will also follow.
Sports, cricket is also.
Sports, we've done a great job of cricket diplomacy here in Pakistan, and you know, when people say that there's real animosity between the two countries, there was a cricket match in Lahore, and for the first time I saw, you know, young girls, school girls, they had a Pakistani flag on one cheek and an Indian flag on the other cheek, and we actually lost that match.
But there is also offline realities, like when say river specialist or ocean specialist, just poet is refused with a visa in Pakistan or Bangladesh or Indian embassies.
Well, that is not to say that all this love factor, I'm not a flower child. I don't for 1 minute believe that there is love overflowing on both sides of the border. There is a yearning, yes, for people to enjoy themselves, to be able to meet each other, because there are divided families on either side of the divide, and we must realize that on the Kashmir border, in Punjab, in Sindh. But at the same time, there is an establishment which benefits from animosity between the two countries. There is a strong establishment there. In India, there is an extremely strong establishment here, and because they benefit, they also produce this hate material, and we saw that with the Mumbai attacks. Suddenly, before that, there was a lot of talk of peace and love, and I remember that the president said that in every Pakistani there is an Indian, and in every Indian there is a Pakistani President Zardari, and 4 days later there's Mumbai, and from everybody from Asari to the Dadi, they were all out on television, breathing hatred. But I think at the same time that when the dust settles, it's actually the sane voices that prevail and not the insane ones. And they're now seen by the younger people as a nagging voice, a voice of the past, a voice of tradition, in a bad way, a voice of convention that perhaps can be done away with. So I think that's what is hopeful in this country.
Thank you very much for giving us time, and wishing you a long journey.
Thank you.
Miles to go before you sleep.
Thank you very much.
Dear friends, that was Munizia Jahangir, a documentary filmmaker and TV journalist and a dreamer. We'll see you again in some other chess match. Ciao.